Hello there. Today I'm taking a look at a Pinot Gris. This is the Clos de Capucins, the 2021 vintage from Domaine Weinbach in Kayersberg. And the domain is a very historic estate. The property can be dated back to the 1600s. It was the property belonging to the Capuchin monks, but today is in the hands of the Walle family. The Clos de Capucins is a single 5-hectare walled vineyard, which is one of their prized possessions. They own vines in 5 Grand Cru, but this is a vineyard that they own outright. And although it's not a Grand Cru, it's a walled vineyard. It's quite a warm terroir. It tends to produce wines that have good richness, ripen early, mature early. And as far as the history of the site is concerned, there are records dating back to 890 when it was given to the monks by the Empress Richard. So an incredibly long history there. I can think of very few sites that can rival that. So here they under the Clos de Capucin name, I believe they also produce a Pinot Noir, so a close relative of Pinot Gris. But the site tends to have good richness in its wines. The approach that the Walle family have taken, it's Catherine and her sons Theo and Eddie, has been to rely on what they refer to as a sort of a tripod in terms of making quality wines. And the 3 elements of the tripod are good sites, low yields and old vines. So we have that combination here. Their winemaking since 2005, I believe, has been entirely certified as biodynamic by Demeter, and it's organically certified as well under BioGrow. That's then followed through in the vineyard by a sort of a minimum intervention approach. The wines, wherever possible, are allowed to ferment with their ambient yeasts, those that have come in from the vineyard on the fruit, or those that are already established in the winery and fermenting away busily. The wines are fermented and aged probably for 9 or 10 months aging in large oak foudre. It's old oak, so there's not an oak influence directly in terms of flavour, but there is an influence in terms of oxygen getting into the wine and just helping give it richness and roundness. So let's have a look at the wine, shall we? There's a nice depth of colour. That's a medium yellow, not particularly bright and lemony, more sort of to a straw sort of note there. I didn't see what the alcohol on this was. It's 14.5%, so I'm expecting something fairly chunky. It's not particularly clinging to the glass. I mean, there are some tears. Oh, actually, yes, some reasonable tears being created on the glass there, and the aromas. Smelling that, there's quite a sort of an oily texture to it, and also some lifted floral notes, not to the same extent as the Muscat, but along a similar line. There's a sort of a lifted honeysuckle floral note. There's quite a sort of a sweetish, generous perfume. I suppose there are slightly rich, slightly honeyed notes behind it, maybe. It's possible that there's a tiny element of botrytis in a wine like this. I don't know. Let's have a taste. That's rich textured and warm. I talked about oily textures, oily aromas. There's certainly an oiliness to the texture there. And at first, it seems sweet. It's so rich, and there's a sort of a honey note. But actually, the acidity's cut in now, and actually that's a completely dry wine. It's a strange trick it's playing there. And actually, it's finishing really quite dry, quite mineral. So you've got a sort of front of mouth weight supported by the alcohol, and I assume some time with the lees in being stirred in the barrel, just adding a bit of weight and roundness. And there are those notes of oiliness, of lifted floral perfume, almost slightly sickly on the mid palate, almost sort of to a sort of a lily of the valley sort of sweetness. I talked about honeysuckle earlier as well, that sort of thing there. But finishing really quite dry. There's almost a sort of a citric cut to the finish there. Citrus and mineral, really sort of pure minerality coming through there. The flavours are lasting beautifully well, but they're quite delicate flavours. They're not big flavours that are enduring at the end there. The wine is peculiar. I have to say it's a mid-weight wine, but most of that weight was at the front of the palate. The finish is finishing a much more elegant and delicate style there. And I think actually for food pairing that would be quite an interesting thing to have to pair, because it would go with richer cheeses very nicely indeed, cold meats, and yet that delicacy would very happily partner salads and that sort of thing at the end of a meal. I think that could be quite an adaptable wine in terms of wine matching. I think you could have quite a bit of fun finding good matches for this wine. So that was Domaine Weinbach's 2021 Clos du Capucin Pinot Gris. Thank you for watching. Do please follow our channel, do like and share the video, but do please also make sure you join us again. Bye now.